two writers, one just starting out, the other a bestseller. Join James Blatch and Mark Dawson and their amazing guests as they discuss how you can make a living telling stories. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
Hello and welcome to the Self-Publishing Formula Podcast with Mark and James. So this is going out on Friday the 13th of April, which means that we have just spent the week at the London Book Fair. Obviously, because we're recording this in the past, I can't tell you what it was like, but I'm sure it was amazing. And we met all our friends there. I can predict
I will be tired and my voice will have gone because I'll have had 3 days of talking to people. I would have probably had a hangover from the SPF party and other parties I might have gone to. And I'll be ready for the weekend. So that's me. I'm predicting that now. I'm fairly confident that will be an accurate prediction.
Yes, I'll be tired as well. But actually, as this podcast goes out, I shall be in the air flying to Turin to go skiing for a few days, because the world's amount of snow has fallen in the Alps this year, and I can't resist going out there to get some of that action.
Very good. Yeah. Well, I would love to join you, but the kids are a bit too young for skiing right now. But give it no, Sam was too young. Give it a couple of years, and we'll be out there too.
On the slopes, yeah, I'd recommend it. And what we're going to do actually at London Book Fair, we're going to try and record a few of the links for the next couple of episodes. That's probably Reader Links, which is John Logston's platform, which is an information data analysis thing. He explains it better than I do. And Jasper Joffrey, which is an interview I've already previewed. We'll probably introduce that from London Book Fair as well. In fact, that would be a perfect podcast episode to talk about in the context of London Book Fair. So they're coming up in the next couple of weeks. This episode, as previewed last week, is about Twitter. Now, Twitter has had a bit of a roller coaster existence in life generally, let alone just for this author market, in terms of what it does and who it's useful for. So we had Twitter ads in the early days. We were among the people making Twitter ads work. It was hard work, but then they started changing things. They took away their lead cards, the lead gen cards and things like that. It just took the edge away and it became not profitable. Actually, it wasn't even profitable for our courses, which are high value items, let alone books that you're going to sell for, for a few dollars. However, that didn't mean that organically they weren't important. But lots of people don't really know how to use Twitter and they don't know how often they should be posting and what they should be posting. But we do have a guru on hand. We have a man, Ian Sutherland, who's written books on the subject, who keeps up with it, who runs Twitter accounts for authors, including you, Mark. He has an author platform called Author Sidekick Platform, and there's going to be a discount code for that at the end of this episode. But we've got Ian back because there's been quite a few changes recently since we last spoke to him, and this is really an update and an instructional guide to how you can make Twitter work for you. So let's hear from Ian. Ian Sutherland, our Twitter guru. Here you are back again on the Self-Publishing Formula Podcast. And as we'll get onto in a moment, one of the reasons you're back is because Twitter never stopped ruining everyone's lives by changing things so things no longer work. And we need to catch up on all of that. But first of all, Ian, welcome back. And let's just remind everyone who you are, because you are, in fact, an author yourself, aren't you?
I am indeed. Thanks for having me back. So, I'm a thriller author. I write a series of novels with a character called Brody Taylor. And these are, I guess the thing that's different for me is I do cybercrime, modern day cybercrime, set in the context of more accessible police procedural murder mysteries. And I have a lot of fun with that because it's also very modern and I get to play with these global conspiracies, which is pretty cool. So, that's what I write. And they're well received and I enjoy it.
Yeah, that's a big area. At some point, you can reinvent yourself as a consultant to go into corporations because they're all scared to death of cybercrime and don't know what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so Twitter, you got into this. You've published a book on this subject, and the book's still available, and I think you must have to do a fair amount of revising it, but it's still pretty up to date.
Yeah, so I released a book called Advanced Twitter Strategies for Authors about 2.5 years ago. all of the techniques are pretty much up to date still. I haven't revised it. I am getting close to needing to. Some of the tools I recommend within it, I would no longer recommend. In fact, one chapter, I have a replacement chapter already written, which I give to people to join the mailing list, so that they can change the tool that was recommended at the time. But yeah, the techniques and the principles are fine. But Twitter does change things, that's for sure.
Yes, it does, doesn't it? And I think one of the things about Twitter is that whilst authors look at Facebook and they understand more or less what they should be doing, even if some of the details are not there, I think Twitter is more of an unknown area for people. They kind of roughly know how it works, but not sure what they should be doing as authors to make it work for them and drive sales. And that's really where you've knuckled down and come up with some workflows. Shall we remind ourselves what you said last time you were on that no longer works? It's probably a good point.
Yeah, sure. So the thing about Twitter for authors, particularly if you're trying to get the word out about your books, why it's different from Facebook and other areas is the half-life of a tweet can be measured in hours, maybe if you're lucky, but certainly minutes or seconds. So when you post something, it'll be no longer relevant and appear, within certainly minutes or an hour. Twitter has made some changes so that it's tinkered with your feed, so it has an algorithm to work out what it populates there. It used to be reverse chronological, and that's improved things a little bit for people who've already engaged with you. But because of this short timeline, the thing that most people can't figure out is how to build a brand around Twitter, and there's only one answer, and the answer is pretty simple. You need to tweet a lot. And by tweeting a lot, you get to put your content out there. You have more chance of it being seen by other people, other readers, and so on. The downside of that is it takes time, and that's where the techniques that I first wrote about in the book come into their own, because we're using tools to schedule them. We're connecting to our website and other people's websites so that we're automatically posting content. And we're filling the stuff that we're posting, we're doing as much as possible to add value and make things interesting. So it's not just promotional in nature. And when you do that, roughly, it's the classic 80-20 rule. If 80% of what you're tweeting is non-promotional in nature, then it kind of gives you a license to tweet the other 20% as promotional stuff with links to your books or your books on Amazon or whatever. And that's the approach I take. But the two together allow you to kind of extend and build your author brand. And that's how you do it.
Okay. Now, there were some specific techniques that we talked about last time, and you actually did a module that went into our Ads for Authors course, which lived and breathed for about 9 months, and then Twitter ruined everything again. Same as they did with my Twitter ads module, which again, we've withdrawn, not because the techniques don't work, but they're just not good value for money. Let's get that out of the way actually first. Okay. Let's talk about the paid ads platform, because there is a confusion here. Paid ads don't work for authors as far as we are concerned, and then we've tested them extensively with several $1,000s down that particular drain pipe. They did for a while, and then Twitter made some changes. Recently, I know Twitter have come up with a sort of automated paid ads option, a product for people. And I punted this along to you, and I know you've had a good deep dive into that. And the headline is a pretty similar headline, right?
It is, yeah. So Twitter ads, which you looked at personally, I think the conclusion now is it's just not economical. I think if you're a big brand promoting cars or something really, really expensive in nature, then building a brand through Twitter advertising can work for you. But when we're selling books which are relatively low priced, even in box sets, the economics don't work. Twitter has released something called Twitter Promote Mode to make things easier for people. And it's a monthly subscription, $99, £79 in the UK. And for that, you kind of 10 tweets that it finds that pass its quality criteria that you post each day, it will then automatically take and promote through their advertising module and push those out to people. And you can define your targeting not very well. The most you can do on this is, for us, would be books and literature. So right. These tweets would then go out to people who are interested in that kind of thing, and it will expand your reach absolutely will. You'll get, they claim around 30,000 people will see your content, and you'll get around 30 followers a month. But at $99 a month, I just don't see that as very economical. So certainly not a good use of money when you've got other options like AMS ads or Facebook ads that you could plow that money into.
Yeah, and we know from the other advertising platforms, from AdWords, YouTube, from Facebook ads in particular, that the devil is in the detail in that targeting, and it's very easy they'll always take your money. All these platforms will take your money, and if you don't get that targeting right, and it does take experience and money at the beginning to try and get there, and you work hard and eventually you get it working, hopefully. Well, this new Twitter ads product takes all that away. It doesn't even give you an option of targeting properly.
Correct. You're limited at a category level. There's about 15 categories, and they cover everything from cooking and sports and books and literature is the nearest we can get. Not good for all.
It'd be all right for the traditional industry, the big traditional publishers, because Mark and I always laugh when we click on Facebook ads. You can click in the top right, can't you, to see why you've been targeted. And I always remember one that was a Nick Cohen book, and it said because I was a male in the UK.
Nice. That's good targeting.
They've really drilled down on that one. Picked me out for that. I do quite like Nick Cohen anyway, as it happened. Okay, so paid ads will just shunt to one side, and the advice from SPF and from you as a Twitter guru at the moment is not economically viable for authors as it stands. So we're back into the organic realms then, and there were lots of little tricks and tips that you gave us, and you did a brilliant cheat sheet last time, the welcome email and so on, the welcome tweet and so on. And individually, quite a few of these now are either prohibited or just not working.
So the welcome tweet approach, which we talked about on the last time we interviewed, and then I did build a course around it for SPF, was around building a mailing list, which is something we all know the value of a mailing list. And the idea was that when someone follows you, that you hit them with a welcome tweet in the specific format that using what's called a Twitter card, and then someone would click on it, and then they join your mailing list in return for a free book, that kind of thing. And it was a great technique. I've personally built my own mailing list over the last 2 years in the tens of thousands using this approach. Okay. And the way you get so many people is obviously by following a lot of people and then getting a lot of followers in return. That Twitter didn't like. They removed the capability to do the welcome tweet. They never had it themselves. It was third-party vendors on top who were providing apps to do this kind of thing. And Twitter changed the rules and removed the capability to do any form of welcome tweet. You can still do a welcome direct message, but that's pretty useless. Most people don't even look at the direct messages, so I don't recommend it. So the welcome tweet went, and we can no longer build our mailing list in that way, and it's just gone.
Yeah. Well, that was a shame, wasn't it? And I agree with you about the welcome direct message. There's something also a little bit intrusive about the welcome direct message and impersonal. The tweet, you expect it to be a bit impersonal because that Twitter is broadcasting to an audience. The direct message, if it's not one-on-one, I would say don't bother.
And nearly all of them are automated. I think 99 out of 100 of the ones that I receive are all automated. And if they're all automated, you turn off from all of them.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So well done, Twitter. I mean, we should extend some sympathy to the organisation in that I think they have a platform that's actually quite fun. I enjoy a lot. Some people fall into it's black or white Twitter, isn't it? A lot of my friends just don't do it, don't want to do it. And other friends, it's the only one they really spend their time on. I actually really like it. I like it for news gathering. I like it to see opinions, follow my sort of particular areas. And it's just that translation into a commercially useful tool that I think, to be fair, they are struggling with. They've created a platform that people enjoy using, but not one that lends itself to a big money-making platform for them or for their customers.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, Twitter just this month, posted their first ever profit.
Oh wow, they have made a profit. Well, that's
so it's turning around for them, and that's coming through two main changes. They think one is the way they have been changing their advertising platform, and then secondly, the algorithm changes on your timeline. So people are becoming more engaged on Twitter, which is good to hear, because we were all worried it would disappear or just be about Donald Trump. And now, if they're making a profit, it gives me more confidence that the platform's here to stay and becomes more viable and useful for authors.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's really interesting. I hadn't clocked that they'd finally turned that particular corner. That is that's promising. Okay. So, is there anything else we need to talk about that's no longer working that you spoke about last time?
The only thing I would say, and it was a chapter in the book, and if I was revising, creating a second edition of the book now, I would remove the chapter completely, and that was the ability to do automated retweeting. There's a couple of third-party apps out there that you can subscribe to that will allow you to automatically retweet other people's content based on filters, whether that's hashtags or who they are or members of a list. And while it's technically still possible to do, Twitter's really clamping down on that level of automation and locking people's accounts. And the last thing you want to do is have your account locked. So I don't recommend that approach anymore. I certainly turned it off for all of my accounts.
Okay, so I'm trying to think the uses for that, because sometimes you go to a conference or an event and they'll have a big screen up, and if you tweet on a hashtag, it appears on the big screen, which is always slightly dangerous, by the way, if it's completely automated. So there's always some rogue in the room, but I guess what Twitter wants is for that to be moderated and done
Absolutely.
manually.
They want engagement, and engagement doesn't happen by robots doing it. It only happens by people doing it, and that's why they're banning these forms of automation. So it doesn't help in terms of just getting the word out with the least effort, but at least that means that people are engaging more, which is, back to why they're making money again.
Yeah. Okay. The robots will be engaging one day.
The robots will talk to the robots and write the books for us.
I've seen Steven Spielberg's AI. It will get there. So before we move on to what is working, is Twitter still a viable platform that authors should be on?
They should absolutely be on it, but my only caution is it should be supplementary to everything else. Okay, in terms of book marketing, it should be supplementary. It's never going to be the platform that you can use in any form to hit the bestseller lists. That's for sure. You'll sell additional copies, but for me, it's much more and still very useful as building yourself as a brand authority. Okay, because you can tweet a lot. People can look at your profile, discover you, and you will be perceived as a brand authority if you are tweeting consistently and regular around particular subjects. If you're writing nonfiction books on gardening and you're tweeting about gardening, other websites and so on, then you're building your brand authority. If you're a fiction author in the romance genre and you're tweeting about romance novels or news in the romance fiction industry and so on, then you're building your brand authority. And I think it's a really great way to for authors to reinforce themselves and their author brand by doing that. And you do that. There's ways to do it in using some level of automation, but that's really the main use of it. It's not. You can get, obviously you do get incremental book sales, of course, but I just don't. It doesn't really compare with what you can achieve with advertising on Facebook and BookBub and AMS.
Okay, so for people who are feeling a bit overwhelmed when they start up and they get everything set up, Twitter's probably the last platform they should go to. But once they have got themselves established and they're looking for new channels, this is a channel that is definitely worth exploring and being on.
People, I would say that people should get to Twitter earlier than from the point of view of return on investment and time, then yes, but it's also the place that people go to first to check you out quite often. Yeah. So I would say make sure you've got a good Twitter profile, good page, good graphics, and that you've got some content that you've tweeted and you tweet on a regular basis. And if you do the minimum, then you've got that covered, and then you can come back later once you've got all the advertising options sorted out and start building your brand authority, as I described a minute ago.
Yeah, and some people might be worried about exposing themselves on Twitter and not having a very large following, and that putting people off. If you say they have a look at you on Amazon and they go on Twitter and check in, you got 94 followers, they might think negatively about you.
Well, you've got to start somewhere. Yeah. So the sooner you start, the sooner you can start building your follower base. And that rule doesn't change. That's something that still works. The Twitter. You can still use these organic techniques to build your following. Okay, we talked last time about how you do that, and putting everything else to one side. There's lots of stuff you can do, but the number one thing that you can do to attract more followers is to follow people in the first place. Yeah. So if you target people who are following other authors in your genre and follow them, then there's a kind of unwritten etiquette where people will, in most cases, follow back, and then you can quite quickly grow your following up to a few thousand people, which kind of gives you some credibility.
Yeah, great. Okay, so what is working?
So that etiquette still exists, thank God. So you can grow your follower base, I'm in over 100 and whatever it is, 120,000 on my fiction author account now, and that's still working really, really well. The 80-20 rule, which we talked about earlier, is still working. So the ability to schedule tweets, post tweets, link, use tools to link to RSS feeds of websites and pass it through. If we refer back to the previous video, then people can find the giveaway from that, which talks about all of these techniques. The new thing I think that's really starting to come through is collaboration on Twitter. We talk a lot about collaboration. We talk about Insta freebie giveaways and how you can use it to build your mailing list. But the thing I'm starting to see more of, and I'm part of with Author Platform Sidekick, is helping authors collaborate with each other on Twitter or on social media platforms. So I'm seeing more of that now, and I think that's really useful because self-promotion you can do, but it looks like self-promotion no matter how you dress it up. When you talk about your own book, that is you self-promoting, even if you're doing it overall in moderation. You're self-promoting. So the idea here is, well, what if someone else tweets about your book for you on your behalf, and in return you tweet about their book? So there's ways of doing that. We've built something with Author Platform Sidekick to do that called Team Up, which works. There's other apps out there. I've looked at Triber, which is more for people who are blogging, but it allows you to, as you write new blog posts, then if you're part of a tribe, then those people will automatically share it out on their social media channels. So that's one way of collaborating. And then there's another one I've discovered more recently called Creator Collabs. And this one allows you to view tweets that other people have posted, and then you can then share it. And each time you share, depending on the number of followers you have, you then get credits, and then other people will share your content that you make available. So it works. And there's a free service there. Not that many authors using it. But it's a good way of getting the word out about yourself or your books without being seen to be self-promotional. And that's why Team Up exists in Author Platform Sidekick. It's just a way, that's specifically for authors. So, you set it all up, you load up a few tweets, and then other authors in your genre, I've made it very genre specific, because you don't want to be a children's author posting erotica, for example, or something like that. So other authors in your genre will then automatically post your content, and in return you'll automatically post their content, and you can set it up once and it just runs on autopilot day after day after day. And that's the new thing that we've launched with Author Platform Sidekick. And so this idea of collaboration on Twitter, I think, is a really good way to kind of help you avoid appearing to self-promote, but still getting the word out in a cool way.
Yeah. Now, you've mentioned Author Platform Sidekick, so let's flesh that out a little bit. So this is your own business. This is your own venture, and it's a subscription service that does a lot of the heavy lifting on Twitter for authors.
Yeah, so some of these techniques I talked about, connecting to RSS feeds and having them automatically post through your Twitter account, setting up a queue of content of your old blog posts so that just drip feeds on a regular basis and cycles through, setting up a queue of promotional tweets, that we still want to get the word out, self-promote, and have those cycle through, and you control all the rates. These are all the techniques that I described in the book and told you in the book how to do it yourself. But there are still lots of people who either don't have the time or feel, maybe technically challenged. So the service is something I provide through Author Platform Sidekick to do all of those things. And then the new feature of this is Team Up. So this is the ability to load up those tweets that other people in your genre will post in return for you posting the tweets. And there's a free plan available for that. So anyone who's interested in trying that out, you get to have two tweets posted by other authors in your genre every week after week, as long as you're on the free plan. And in return, you're posting other authors in your genre. And the tweets are designed to be deliberately non-salesy, so that it looks like content that you would naturally have promoted or naturally have posted. Very deliberate on that side. So that's what Author Platform Sidekick is about. It's about taking everything I talked about in the book, but providing it and doing it as a service for other authors.
Well, we should talk about the subscription prices. We should also say that one of your customers is Mark Dawson. So Mark's been, we'll talk to him about it in a second, but I think he's been a pretty happy customer of yours, from the early days. But how much can people expect to pay for Author Platform Sidekick?
So so there's a free plan on the Team Up. So that's completely free, and it just runs week after week, day after day, week after week. And then if you want to have more tweets posted every week by other authors, then there's two plans. One is $449 a month, and the other one is $7.99. And for that, you get either 7 tweets a week or 14 tweets a week, so 1 a day or 2 a day by other authors. Okay, so that's the Team Up, and then it goes on to the Engager module, where it's $25 from memory, and that gives you the RSS feed and the evergreen queue, so the non-promotional content, the stuff to build yourself as a brand authority. And then the last piece is for $35 a month, which is the marketing queue, when you've got scheduled promotions, all the promotional stuff that you might want to do, all running on autopilot. So that's the service. People use other tools, people use Buffer to schedule content. The problem is you always have to keep filling the queue again. This does it automatically. People use Meet Edgar, but Meet Edgar is $49 a month. It's quite expensive for what it is. So other tools are available, but the Sidekick service is purely geared to authors. There's loads of hashtags that authors use in all the forms to help you kind of get the most out of it. So it works pretty well. But just remember, there's a free service as well, just for people to try it out.
Yeah, to get into that collaboration side of it. And I think you're going to offer a discount to
I am. So there's a landing page that we've got for you here. And for that, if you do take any of the paid plans, obviously free, you can't discount a free one, but any of the paid plans, there's a 15% discount available month by month.
Okay, so if we call that selfpublishingformula.com / Sidekick. How about Sidekick? Sidekick. There you go. Sidekick. selfpublishingformula.com / Sidekick. That was a dramatic pause, wasn't it? Well, I suddenly realised that Author Platform Sidekick was too long. Twitter's probably been used, and my mind wasn't fast enough, but you saved us. / Sidekick. There you go. So that will be the landing page for that, and you can get that discount code. We'll punt you over to Ian's. So, it's good. I suppose it's good that Twitter are now making a profit, and that you still feel there's some vibrancy there and some worth there. But it's always going to be a platform that does require some inside knowledge to get something out of it, right?
That's true, and it's one that just takes time for not really the same return that you can get through other platforms. So I think it's supplementary to everything. It's important because people expect you to be on there. People expect authors to be on there. Any form of celebrity, if we can call ourselves that, needs to be on Twitter. And so you just need to make it work for you in the best way. You get problems like if you get too many followers, then your tweet stream suddenly becomes too crazy to even read. But there's, you can use TweetDeck, which is a Twitter tool, to help filter that down. So, even if you get carried away with this and you end up with tens or hundreds of thousands of followers, you can still make it intimate, which is, I think, the cool thing about Twitter. You can still engage with people. People can still reach out to you without having to have a connection first. That's why it's so popular. Because there's not, you don't have to be friends first. People can just reach out to you. So I think there's always going to be a role for Twitter. And now they have 280 characters. We can even say a few more things. But I see it as supplementary to everything else, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's funny how the language of Twitter has entered everyday language, a bit like how baseball, almost everything in baseball is a metaphor or a phrase in American language, all our language, boardroom language, or everything from what happens between a boy and a girl at the high school prom, what base they get to, through to scoring, hitting it out of the park, etc. I think Twitter is that version of social media. I think it's the go-to. People talk about hashtags, they talk about the 140 characters and so on. And more than Facebook, actually, it's referred to every day, and people talk political terms. It's almost like the big political platform, isn't it? The discourse platform.
It is. It's a place where news breaks first, that's for sure. The trends are there. Anytime you log on to your Twitter homepage, you can see what's trending. And they do that globally and in your local area. It's where news breaks first. It's where you can engage immediately. I think it's more immediate than the other platforms.
Yes. And the President of the United States is quite keen. Tweeter, isn't he?
He is. I don't recommend his marketing strategy, but then again, he's already got the job he wants, I guess.
Yes, he has a unique way of promoting his personality through Twitter. Okay,
I don't recommend that as an approach. But you can be controversial, I suppose, on Twitter and get away.
It does go to underline the fact that the platform is very high profile.
Indeed.
Yeah. Okay, so have we missed anything? Is that in terms of what people should be doing?
I think so, James. I think we've covered what doesn't work, what's working now, and I think collaboration is the hot area now.
Yeah, definitely. So that sounds a really good thing. And as you say, some of the key things to follow to make sure that you're collaborating within your genre, or maybe a little bit wider than if you've got a niche genre, a little bit wider than that, but something that your readers are likely to be interested in. Otherwise, that probably won't work.
Absolutely.
And your free platform is a great way to start with that.
It is indeed. It is. And so if you head over to the landing page, you'll see it there.
Yeah, we'll send you over there. Brilliant. Ian, thank you so much indeed for joining us. We had a technically fraught interview, which doesn't happen very often, but I'm so pleased it happened with you because you're a friend and you also understand IT. Because sometimes I've got somebody who's very nervous on the other end of the line, and if my camera starts, everything's failed that could possibly fail.
You can't write cybercrime without knowing anything about IT, that's for sure.
Yeah, you can come over here and fix everything at some point, but yeah. Great, Ian, thank you so much, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Before we do anything else, let me give you the link to get the discount code that Ian talked about. You can go to selfpublishingformula.com/sidekick, SIDEKICK. And I should say, I think I probably have to say, and I should say, that we do affiliate for Ian's author sidekick platform service, but we only affiliate for services that we personally recommend and are very happy with. And you are very happy with it, Mark, because you've been with Ian for quite a long time.
Yeah, he's been doing some work on my Twitter platform for probably a year now, and it's certainly grown significantly since then. I haven't even checked. I think I've probably around about 30,000 followers now. So that's been pretty good. And I do start to see people reaching out to me on Twitter. Other authors and readers also will come back and comment on things that I've posted or have automatically posted. So great for conversation starting and another way to reach out and find readers who might not otherwise have heard from you.
It's definitely worth checking out the author platform Sidekick, because I think Ian's divided it up such that you can pay a little and have a service, or you can scale it up and have quite a lot done on your behalf. I don't know. I think you're one of the people he chooses to pioneer some of the services.
No, I pay for it.
I know you pay for it as well, but he often includes you, doesn't he, if he's going to do something for the first time?
Yeah. No, I'm the crash test dummy for lots of things, but including that.
Yeah. And what do you think of Twitter? Do you use Twitter? Personally, I'm obviously professional.
No, not that much. I mean, I'll check it once or twice, once a day probably, if I remember. And it will go days when I don't remember. So it's not my main platform. Facebook is like miles and miles and miles away. The platform I spend the most time on for loads of different reasons. But yeah, I mean, Twitter's on my phone. I do check it. And other authors, people like Jo Penn, I think she prefers Twitter. She gets more out of it, and it's great. It's great for reaching out to people on a kind of a one-to-one basis, introducing yourself to new people that otherwise you may struggle to meet. But for that kind of just an organized platform that allows you to scale your message, Facebook is the one for me. But your mileage may vary.
Yes, objects in the rearview mirror may be closer than they appear. Things. I like Twitter from a personal social media point of view. It's my social media platform of choice, really. It's sort of the one I spend more time on. I think it's good for opinion and raw news, although you have to be very cautious with both of those things, particularly raw news. And by raw news, I don't mean dicey news. I just mean unfiltered. Unfiltered by mass media, mainstream
fake news,
media.
you mean?
Fake news, people. big news. Okay, good. But from an author point of view, obviously that's why we have Ian on, because he is the guy who follows this, and it is a platform that can work for you. And I'd urge you to give some of that a go. Great. Hopefully, fingers crossed, next week's episode will be from the London Book Fair, having been recorded there. So we're looking forward to doing that. I'm looking forward to skiing as we get going on this. And we will be back. What is next week? Next week is going to be Reader Links.
Reader Links, yes, with John Logston, who is an alumnus of the course and has a very nice service that will enable you to better read your data from Amazon and do lots of other cool stuff in the background as well. So yeah, definitely one to listen to next week.
Yeah, great. We're looking forward to that. So I hope you have a great week. We'll see you next Friday. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Self-Publishing Formula podcast. Visit us at selfpublishingformula.com for more information, show notes, and links on today's topics. You can also sign up for our free video series on using Facebook ads to grow your mailing list. If you've enjoyed the show, please consider leaving us a review on iTunes. We'll see you next time.